I'm Zach from Rescue Rebuild, and we're here today to talk about installing cat portals. This is something that we get asked about probably more than any other project, and it's really a fairly simple process. Of course, the first thing you need is your actual portal. Now, this portal is made by Shoreline, and this is designed to go in Shoreline cat kennels, but would likely work in other kennels as well. The first step here is going to be to make sure that we accurately mark our holes. So you can do this two ways. You can measure on each side of the cage, or you can use this template that Shoreline sells. This template does cost a little bit, but if you're doing a lot of these, it really is the best way. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this template, and we're just gonna slide it on in here, all the way to the back, and we're gonna take a permanent marker and draw a circle. And you can see we now have a perfect circle. Now that we have our portal marked, we're gonna do the same thing on the other side, so we know that when we cut through this cage, we're going to have the hole in the same place on both sides of the cage. The next step is going to be to use a drill. So I have a cordless drill here. A corded drill will do just fine. And you're going to need two different drill bits. This drill bit is called a step drill bit, and you're going to need one that goes to at least a 1-inch size. A little bigger is even better. And in order to make this step drill bit last a little bit longer, I would recommend using an 1/8-inch pilot bit in order to preserve the tip of this bit. Now, in order to get through this hard metal on these cages, it's stainless steel, very difficult to drill through, you're going to want to ensure that the bits that you use are made of cobalt. Other bits will work, however, if you're drilling more than a handful of holes, they won't work very well. A cobalt bit on Amazon will run you about $30, and you can get a pack of cobalt 1/8-inch bits for much less than that. This is very loud. We're going to be inside these metal cages, and so we're going to go ahead and put our earplugs in and get our safety glasses on, and I'll show you how to get these holes cut. I have our 1/8-inch cobalt pilot bit in here, and we're going to use this to drill a starter hole about 1 inch in from the edge. By drilling a small hole first, it makes this bit, which is more expensive, last longer. So now that we have our hole drilled, we're going to move on to the final stage in the cutting of the portal, and that is to use our nibbler. So you'll notice that that hole we drilled is pretty large, and the reason for that is so that the end of the nibbler can fit through that hole. We have to put this through the hole, turn it on, and then we're going to slowly make a circle around that hole. A nibbler uses a small metal punch to just punch holes in the metal, so it's not actually cutting the metal, it's punching it out. The nibbler that we recommend is the Makita nibbler. And you have two options with this. You can get the corded one, which is what this is, or you can actually get an 18-volt cordless one. The cordless, I've heard, can be very helpful in order to maneuver around tight spaces. It does cost a little more, so we went with the corded one because we were on a budget. The nibbler can very easily get away from you if you're not careful. And so what I would recommend is to practice inside that circle in a smaller area so that you can get the feel for what it's like to actually cut the material. Depending on how you push and the angle that you tilt this, it will act a little bit differently, and it takes a little bit of getting used to be able to predict how it's going to behave in the metal. As you start to come around the top and you're pointing the top of the nibbler into the back of the cage, at least with my corded version, it will hit the back of the cage and it makes it hard to go all the way around. To combat that, what I actually do is tilt the nibbler so that it's away from the back, and you'll see that shortly. And that allows me to make one motion all the way around the circle. The other thing you can do is cut half, take it out, and then come back the other direction through the hole and cut the other half. Either way works, whatever you're more comfortable with. You can try both and see what you prefer. Now when we do this is going to make a lot of metal pieces on the floor behind the cage, in the cage, and if you move the position of your arms, you may want to bring a dust brush just to brush those metal shavings away so that you're not actually leaning in them. Alright, let's give this a shot. Here we go. Okay, so you can see just how easy this tool makes this job. With a little bit of practice, you'll be cutting portals in no time. We're going to take that same process and we're going to repeat it on the other side of the cage. From there, all we have to do is actually install the portal itself. This is a fairly simple process, especially compared to cutting the hole. All you really have to do here is to separate this unit, and in between these two halves is a spacer. And so with the second person, we're going to take one half, put it through one of our holes, as the other person holds the spacer behind the cage so that it goes inside of it. And what that will do is prevent the cages from pulling together as we tighten this. Now before we actually install this, it's very important that we seal these. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a caulk gun with a bead of caulk, and we're going to run a bead all the way around each side of this. And then when we push these together, it will push the caulk out the edge a little bit and it will seal this to the cage. Now when we caulk these to the cage, there are a couple different options for what kind of caulk we use. A lot of people like to use silicone. We found that in animal shelters, silicone doesn't hold up for a really long period of time, maybe 1 year, 2 years if you're lucky. In a place like a cage that's getting cleaned every day with harsh cleaners, we usually go with something a little more heavy duty. One of our favorites is Lexel. This is available at some Home Depots. It's also available on Amazon. This will cost 2 or 3 times as much as silicone, but we feel it's worth the cost. Once the one half has gone inside the spacer, you can push the other half from the other side and run your 2 screws in to connect the 2 pieces. You want to get these nice and snug but not over tightened. Once that's happened, you can take the 2 remaining screws, one of which is to hinge the door and the other is as a stop for the door. For the hinge side, there are 2 washers that go on. One is rippled, that will go on first, and then we'll put on a regular washer. And then finally, the clear rubber sleeve will thread all the way on. Then you can take this and put it through your portal door to attach it to the portal. Make sure that when the portal's closed, the paw print is upside down. That way when the portal's open, you see the paw print facing the right way, and this will allow all the holes to line up. Finally, for the last screw, we're going to put on the keeper for the pin that closes the door, then a washer, and then the rubber threaded sleeve again. And finally, we're going to insert this onto the back side so that the door can close onto it. We want to make sure we don't over tighten this so that there's room for the door to close completely, and then the pin can be used to lock the door shut. Finally, you're going to go around the outside of both sides with your caulk to seal the entire thing, and then you're also going to want to go in the middle where the 2 pieces connect with a bead of caulk there as well. And then you're done. Congratulations, you've installed a portal. Now your cats can enjoy a bigger cage space, and it will decrease their stress levels and hopefully get them adopted faster.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you can keep up to date with all of our awesome rescue rebuild videos.